Hello, hello, hello. The SBA has released the new self-employment calculations for the Paycheck Protection Program forgivable loan. Come on in. Let's discuss. Let's talk about how we're going to get more entrepreneurs, more small business owners money for their business. So I'm going to let you all come in. I want to make sure that allow time for people to come in and get on this live broadcast. Because this information is so important. This is breaking news, breaking news. As you are coming on, again, as always, say hello, drop a hi, let me know where you're hailing from. Make sure, let me know that you can hear me and see me clearly, because I definitely want to make sure you all get all the information that you need. I know a lot of you all have been anticipating this. This is going to impact millions of entrepreneurs and small business owners. Again, those of you that are joining in, we're talking today about the latest announcement from the SBA and the release of the interim final rules for the updates and improvements to the Paycheck Protection Program. This is a program that is administered by the SBA. It was enacted under the CARES Act. It has been extended and expanded as late as December 2020, and there has been $284 billion allocated towards this program. And so the Biden administration wanted to take steps to ensure that more underserved communities, such as minorities and women, who make up 70% of the businesses that operate without employees. So they wanted to make sure that you all get access to the program, not only that you get access, but that you're able to get increased benefits, right? Meaning increased amount of the loans that you are awarded. Now, this is a forgivable loan program. What that means is that you have the opportunity to have 100% of your loan amount forgiven under this program. That means it turns into a grant, which is free money. It is federally tax-free. They're working, actually pushing to make it where it is tax-free at your state level as well. They want it across the board, saying if it is federally tax-free, you don't have to pay taxes on it. You shouldn't have to pay taxes on it through state taxes. Those that do have to pay state taxes, that is for you. So that is something that we're monitoring closely as well. But at the federal level, is tax-free. It's also tax deductible. So any funds that you use on your expenses are also tax deductible. So as always, I tell you, consult with your accountants and your bookkeepers and your tax professionals regarding this matter. As you all are coming in, I see you all populating here. Do, again, give this a thumbs up. We want more people to see this. Do share this out, because sharing is caring. It was just actually reiterated by the SBA that so many of those that this applies to, right? The gig workers, solopreneurs, independent contractors, those smaller micro business, those of us that do not have employees, millions of us still don't even know about this program. And those that did early on, when you figured that you didn't qualify, well, you went back to doing business. We're focusing on, right, generating revenue for our businesses. So a lot of times business owners don't even know that these programs exist, still don't. And they won't know, right, unless you tell them to come watch this video, share this video with them, or tag them in this video, which I recommend. Thank you all so much for tagging people that don't know, so that they can now have the information, so that they can take appropriate action to get money for their business. That is why one of the things that they're doing under the new bill, the 1.9 trillion bill that they're working on getting enacted before March 13th, is to allocate around $175 million specifically for outreach to, again, underserved communities who still don't know about this program. And we want to make sure that we all get our part of the billions of dollars that are out there. Okay, so now that you are coming on, again, just to remind you too, if you have questions, I will try to stay on and answer questions regarding the Paycheck Protection Program. But again, the SBA yesterday, which was Wednesday, announced the new changes for self-employed. So if you don't know already, many were ineligible for the program, because what happens is if you don't have any employees, the SBA, the direction that they gave to lenders and how lenders actually set up their portals and their applications based on what the SBA had put forth, is that the loan amount, or how you determine if you qualify, or the amount, was based on your tax returns, your Schedule C. So your 1040, your Schedule C is where your business income is. So I know a lot of you have said that that's not, you don't have that income, or your tax, you either didn't do it appropriately or your tax professionals didn't. You definitely want to make sure, if you need to, that you amend your taxes so that it is appropriately, your income is appropriately accounted for, your expenses are appropriately accounted for. So, but what made a lot of us ineligible is because they were basing it on your net profit. That meant in your gross profit after all of your losses, right? All of your expenses, all your overhead, right? So by the time you know, all your expenses were said and done, you were at zero on line 31. That is your net profit, or it was a negative, which means you had a loss. Now that what they're allowing you to do, and I will shortly bring up on the screen the actual interim rule and go through some of the calculations with you, but it basically says now, instead, you can do it two ways, okay? Because again, every business is different. There are actually businesses that use a Schedule C that do have employees. So they factor that in and let you know how to calculate that as well. There are also Schedule C filers that they pay themselves, like they have expenses like not only payroll, but maybe you pay yourself a pension, or you pay yourself a wage. Those types of things you will want to account for in your calculation. But for the most part, most do not. So if you do not have those particular expenses, then you would just use line 7 on your Schedule C, not your regular tax form, not the 1040 where you have your employment income or unemployment income. This is specifically for sales that you generated in your business. So business income. So that's Schedule C, line 7 is what you would use if you're using gross, but they're giving you the option, okay? So if they're giving you the option, those of you, I highly recommend you use your gross, the line 7, because that is going to get, again, most of you, it's going to make it where you're now going to qualify where you didn't before. And for others, it's actually going to help you get an increased amount if you were using your net, because again, once you remove all of those extra expenses, your gross is much more. So then what you would do is you would take that number on line 7, and we'll go through it shortly on the screen. You take that number on line 7 divided by 12. Take your calculator. You could do it while we're here. Take that line divided by 12. You will get that number. Then you times it by 2.5. That's 2.5 months. If you're in the restaurant industry and your industry code is 72, you can times it by 3.5. Okay. So not only did they update the interim rule, they updated the first draw forms and the second draw application forms as well. This is effective immediately as of yesterday. However, two things to note. You need to allow the lenders time to get their hands on it, read it, absorb it, implement it. So give them like a few days. Your lenders may put out a notice, just depending on who you apply for, about these new updates, and letting you know that they are now ready. But we shall see. But I would just give it a few days. Again, we're up against a tight timeline here because we're still in the exclusive period for all those small businesses with 20 or less employees. This is the exclusive period through the 9th, which is this coming Tuesday. And then this program is actually set to expire March 31st, 2021. So in the new stimulus that they are working on passing right now, there's nothing that states that they will be extending it. However, I think just because of everything that's happening, they will eventually extend it again, but that's not a guarantee. But just based on some of the issues, even though they've made improvements, there's still issues that have been acknowledged by industry advocates that I want to know for you today. So before I go into like the calculations and all of that, here are some of the issues that you want to know. If you took out your first draw, right? So maybe when they started up the program, you took out your first draw, you got approved, you got funded in February. Now they've clarified that you actually have to wait 8 weeks before you can apply for your second draw. Okay, you have to wait 8 weeks to apply for your second draw. So what that means is that for a lot of people, you won't be able to there's not enough time for you to be able to take out a second draw by the March 31st deadline, which again, we're going to keep pushing and fighting. So because I want my second draw too. It's not my fault that they waited to do these proper calculations, right? So what I'm going to focus on is the first draw, and then wait and advocate for them to extend it. And then when they extend it, then I will just, again, make sure that 8-week period has passed and then apply for the second round. But again, there's no guarantee that they will be extending it. Okay, so that's one of the issues that we want to consider. And all of these issues, I say there's people advocating. You have to be your own best advocate as well. Now, this is effective, but the interim rules are published on the Federal Register. You'll see the link to that in the show notes or in the description. That will be published on the Federal Register on Tuesday, March the 8th. Once it is registered, then they open it up. They actually say this in the interim rule that they open it up for public comments. Okay. So if you still see the issues and you want to I would advise you to make comments on that. That again helps them, helps us be able to fight for more money for us, to be able to extend it, to be able to resolve even more of the issues that we may find in this program. They're also clawing back the safe harbor for solopreneurs. So, before what they said is that they were only going to audit those PPP loans that were $2 million and above. Okay. Now, okay, they are going to, it's a chance that you may be audited, those that are higher income earners on Schedule Cs. So don't think that just because businesses file on a Schedule C that they have low income. That's not the case. They have stated that they're now making an exception for Schedule C borrowers with higher gross income, and they may have to retroactively prove that they needed the loan. And I said this before, whether they say they're auditing or not, just assume at any point the federal government, any of these agencies, whether it's the IRS, the Treasury, or the SBA, can come back and then request information from you or some type of verification, because what you're essentially doing is self-certifying. That's what's making it an easier process, a more streamlined process is for you to self-certify. Okay, there's no collateral, anything that you have to put down. They're not doing any credit checks. So that is something for consideration as well. Just quick shout out to Lowell Determined. Thank you for the super chat. Thank you so much. Here's another issue that I would highly recommend you comment on. Now, if you already applied for the loan and were approved, they're not going to give you an increase on that. Okay, so they are not going to retroactively increase your loan. This only applies for loans that are approved after the effective date, which was yesterday, of this interim final rule. And they cannot increase it based on the new methodology. Okay. Another issue that I'm concerned with is, even though that they have changed the calculation, which is great. So like it increased it also increased the amount that I would get. It also made me eligible. It's still remains to be said that it's only 2.5 months. We are now a year into this pandemic. So why it's only 2.5 months of calculations is beyond me. But I want to push for more, like especially again, those of us that again are not don't have employees. We're filing on the Schedule C. Where our incomes are lower. A good majority are under 500K annually. I would say that they should extend it and allow it to calculate based on at least 6 months. Rather than the 2.5 months. If you agree with that, let me know. Or if you think there should be another term for which they should allow this calculation to be based on, let me know that as well. The maximum amount for your owner's compensation. So again, those of you that have no employees, the maximum amount of loan that you can get, which is is good, is $20,833. The cap on your earnings, okay, is $100,000. So let's say that your gross income or your net is $200,000. You have to cap it at $100,000. Okay. And how you would calculate that again. So your monthly average payroll or your monthly average owner's compensation max would be $8,333.33. That is 100,000 divided by 12. That gives you your monthly average. So all of you are there saying, how do you calculate your monthly average? That's how you get your monthly average. Then you times that amount by 2.5 or 3.5, depending on your industry code. Okay. I already said 72 industry codes of 72 in the restaurant industry. You get to times it by 3.5. Okay. They will also, there's a new, you will see on the application. It was already on the application, but this is to know if you received the eidl loan between January 31st, 2020 and April of 3rd, 2020, and you spent the money on payroll, what you need to do is refinance it through the Paycheck Protection Program. And the loan terms, the maturity of 2 years applies unless you and your lender, you all agree that it will be 5 years, unless it's after June, because they changed it through the Payroll Flexibility Act. And they extended the loan period term to a maximum of 5 years, where the initial was 2 years. But if you use it on payroll, because like I said, there's different programs that you can apply for, but you cannot use the funds on the same thing. So if you use eidl for payroll, you need to then refinance that for with your PPP. So there is a line item for that on the application for you all to be able to do that. So that's only those that applies to, okay, through that period. That does not include your advance. So you're not going to include any of your eidl grant money in that, because that's not a loan. That's a grant. That's free money. They're only talking about the loan portion of your eidl that you would include in the calculation if that applies to you. Okay. Okay, so before I do the screen share, just want to reiterate, in addition to the updated changes for the self-employed, there are also additional changes you want to consider for yourself as well. Those of you or those that you know that have non-fraud related felonies can now apply and qualify for the Paycheck Protection Program. So they were ineligible before. Those of you that are delinquent, or they term it defaulted on your student loans, you were ineligible before. Now you can qualify for this program. Those of you that are non-U.S. citizens, like those that may have your green card, if you're a U.S. resident, you can qualify. You are now eligible to apply for this program. You just need your I-10 number. So again, whether that's you or someone you know, I know all of us, we have entrepreneur peers, small business peers that don't have a clue about these programs, don't know about these new changes, don't know that they qualify and that there's money out there available to them. I know this because I have small business owners that throughout the pandemic, I've reached out to them and asked them, do they know about these programs? And they said no. And so I shared the information. And so now they have money for their business. They can now keep people employed. They can now keep their doors open. So a small action just like that can make a huge impact on a small business. We need more businesses to know about what is going on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen. So I'm going to be sharing some of this is a 32, the interim final rule is a 32-page document. We're not going through all the 32 pages. I'm going to focus on some specific areas here. I want to make sure I'm pulling up the right document. Yeah, this is the right, okay, this is the right one. Want to make sure that you can see it on the screen. So I'm going to, and if you can't see it, don't worry about it. I'm just walking you through. You can hear what I'm saying as far as this is concerned. So I'm going to walk through some of the calculations, and then I'm going to also walk through what to use the Paycheck Protection, what you can use the funding for. Again, this is for self-employed, or if you use the Schedule C form, right? Your 1040 Schedule C form for your business income when you file in your taxes. So you can either use your 2019 to calculate, or you can use your 2020. So it's saying here, I'm on page number 10. So it's addressing specific questions that you all as entrepreneurs and small business owners are asking. So it's saying I can calculate the maximum amount. I am a borrower, right? And what documentation is required? So how do I calculate these loans if I have no employees? So step one, from your 2019 or 2020 Form 1040 Schedule C, you may elect to either your line 31, which again, we're not going to do, right? We're going to do line 7. They're giving you the option, line 7, gross income is what you're going to use. If you're using 2020 to calculate your payroll costs and have not yet filed your tax returns, you're going to fill it out and compute the value. So again, you can find all tax-related documents on irs.gov. On their website, there's in the top right-hand corner, there's a search bar. Type in the form that you need, Schedule C, it will pull it up. So you're going to even though you didn't file it, okay? If you have not filed your taxes, if you have them prepared, just use that. Or if you haven't prepared them yet, you're going to get the form and fill it out and submit that with your application. If this amount is over 100,000, you're going to reduce it to 100,000 because 100,000 is the cap. If both your net profit and gross income are 0 or less, you are not eligible. Okay. So you right now, or after this live, you need to be going to your tax form. Look at line 7 and 31. If both lines are 0 or negative, you do not qualify for this program. Okay. So step 2, you're going to calculate your average monthly net or gross income and divide the amount from step 1 by 12. So I said that before. So like your 100 is your cap, whatever that line 7 number is, divided by 12, then you're going to multiply it by 2.5. That amount cannot exceed $20,833. That is the max amount that you as an owner of your business, whether you're a gig worker, independent contractor, network marketer, whatever you call yourself, this is your owner's compensation. It cannot exceed $20,833. Now, step 4, you're going to add any outstanding amount of any economic injury disaster loan, not your advance, made between January 31st, 2020 and April 3rd, 2020 to seek to refinance it under this program. Okay. And it specifically says do not include the advance because it does not have to be repaid. Okay. You must provide 2019 or 2020, whichever you use to calculate your loan. So you have to remember what year, what information you're using to calculate your loan amount. From your 1040 Schedule C with your PPP loan application to substantiate the applied for PPP loan amount and a 2019 and 2020, whichever you use to calculate, IRS Form 1099 detailing any non-employee compensation received in Box 7. You must include any invoices, bank statements, book of records that establish you are self-employed. This is for all of you all that are asking, like, how can they determine, even if you don't have your taxes, how long you've been in business? Because you must have been operating your business as of February 15th of 2020. These are all records that would satisfy, that would tell them that you were actually in operation. That means you were working in your business, you were making sales in your business, you're using invoices, bank statements, book of records to establish that you are self-employed and that you are in operation. Okay, so I hope that is clear. If you are using 2020 to calculate your loan amount, this is required regardless of whether you file your 2020 tax returns with the IRS. You must provide your 2020 invoice, bank statement, or book of record to establish that you're in operation on or around February 15th of 2020. Now, if you have employees and you file on a Schedule C, let's walk through this. So this is not, I don't know if this is the majority of people, but this does apply to some business owners. So if you have employees, you use this method. Compute 2019-2020 payroll using the same year for all items by adding the following. At your election, either one, you're going to use your net profit. We talked about that on line 31 on 2019 or 2020, whichever you're using on your Schedule C form, or your gross amount, right? We want to use our gross amount. Again, it's capped at 100,000. And then you're going to take line 7 minus your employee payroll costs. That's lines 14, lines 19, and lines 26 on the IRS 1040 Schedule C form. For either option, if you're using 2020 amounts and have not filed your tax returns yet, your 2020 tax returns, fill it out, complete the value up to 100,000 on an annualized basis as prorated for the period during which the payments are made, or obligated to make payments in occurred if this amount is over 100,000. Reduce it to 100,000, and if this amount is less than 0, set the limit, set the amount to 0. Okay. So one more thing that is saying here is that if your 2019 to 2020 gross wages and tips paid to your employees whose principal place of residence is United States, computing 2019 or 2020, IRS Form 941, taxable Medicare wages and tips, line 5C, column 1 from each quarter, plus any pre-tax employee contributions for health insurance or other fringe benefits. So there are many of you all that have asked me about this form, IRS Form 941, that you can get from the IRS website at irs.gov. If this applies to you, this is what you would use to identify what you are paying in wages. Okay. And then again, also for your payroll, it cannot, whether it's your owner compensation or payroll, it cannot exceed $100,000. So what I'm going to do is scroll. That's the basic information that I wanted to share. I would drop this, since it's a long URL, I didn't want to put it in the description, but I will drop it in the comments so you can go through this interim final rule at your discretion. But I'm going down here to page 14. This is where it's talking about what do you spend the PPP loan proceeds on? I can't say this enough, because again, I just got 2 more stories. One of my peers sent me the story, and then I read one this morning, and it's just heartbreaking to see that people are falsifying information, and then they're getting arrested and charged and indicted and prosecuted for providing false information and spending money on non-business related items. This loan is not for you to go take a vacation It's not for you to complete renovations on your home or to get some new fancy jewelry or a new purse or new clothes. If you do that, you are again putting yourself at risk of criminal charges. So I want us all to avoid that at all costs. So I want to make sure you are clear on exactly what you can spend the money on. Okay. So first, you can spend the money on is taking you through again back through the calculations. You can spend it on payroll costs. That is why this program exists. Your owner's compensation and your payroll, or everything related to payroll expenses, right? Including healthcare, insurance benefits, whatever you include in your payroll, that can be included. Mortgage interest payments for business related. Okay, so not business mortgage interest on your home that is not related to your business. Okay, is not mortgage prepayments or principal payments or either. Is on any business mortgage obligation on real or personal property. Okay, the interest on the mortgage for a warehouse you purchased to store your business equipment, or interest on the auto loan of your vehicle you use to perform business. Business rent payments, example, warehouse where you store your business equipment, or vehicle you use to perform business. The business utility payments could be the cost of electricity or gas in a warehouse where you are driving your vehicle or leaving your vehicle. That is an example. You must have claimed or be entitled to claim the deduction for such expenses on your 2019 or your 2020 taxes. Okay. Your interest payments on any debt obligations that have incurred before February 15, 2020, such amounts are not eligible for PPP loan forgiveness. Okay. Refinancing your SBA eidl loan between January 31st and April 3rd, 2020. Maturity will reset to the PPP's maturity at 2 years for PPP loans made before June 5th, 2020, unless the borrower and your lender mutually agree. So that means you need to be in communication with your lender and agree that you would extend the period from 2 years to 5-year maturity date, okay, for those loans made on or after June the 5th. Covered operations expenses as defined in Section 7A of the Small Business Act to extend, they are deductible on the IRS Form 1040 Schedule C. Covered property damage costs as defined by Section 7A of the Small Business Act to extend, they are eligible. These are deductible on your Schedule C form as well. Covered supplier costs. Again, go back to the Small Business Act, and I will put that in the comments as well. To extend, they are deductible on your Schedule C form as well. Covered worker protections. This is something new when they expanded PPP on what is covered, what you can spend the money on. Personal protective equipment. You can spend money on for your business. Okay, so, and again, other related operational costs that will be included in what you can spend your PPP money on. So again, do not spend it on anything that is for personal use. And again, make sure you maintain all appropriate records of everything related to all of these applications that you are submitting. You just never know what may come back. So who may come back with a question or need some proof or verification. Again, that you are self-certifying. So that's making it easier. That means you're not having to submit a whole lot of additional paperwork that you would normally have to do to qualify for these programs. And so they're asking you to self-certify. So even when you submit your forgiveness application, that was also revised under the latest stimulus to simplify it, streamline it to a one-pager for any loans of $150,000. So it should be relatively simple for you once you Spend the funds. You have 8 to 24 weeks to spend your money on business-related expenses, including payroll, right, or your owner's compensation. If you're self-employed, no employees, that is what you're spending on. So you don't even have to worry about the 60-40 split on expenses. It is your owner's compensation, okay? So whatever that amount is, capped at $20,833 is the most as an owner that you can get, okay? So Jamel is asking, what if my gross income is 187? Will that allow me to get to the max? Yeah, so take that 187,000 divided by 12. What is that number? Whatever that number is, it's going to be over the max. So reduce it down to $8,333.33. And then times that by 2.5. So if I go to my calculator right now, I'm going to tell you what the max, again, the max amount is going to be. You cannot get more than $20,833. But even if I was in your scenario and I took the $8,333.33 amount, and then I times it by, that's 2.5 months that they're giving you, not 3 months. We're pushing for that, right? Your max amount, Jamel, is $20,833. That's what you're getting. Congratulations. Okay, so I hope that's clear. All right, so I agree. I agree. 2.5 is too low. What about us that are presently at 50% loss or greater now as of March 21st? Are we still we're still in the midst of a pandemic? I agree. I agree. I don't even know why it's the 2.5 months. I mean, maybe for those that are making millions of dollars, okay. But even that, I mean, at the early stages of PPP, I got it. They didn't even know it was going to be this long. They didn't know. They didn't know how long the COVID would be around, right? And that how much of an impact it would be having. But once we got past that, I mean, at least in 6 months, they should be bumping that up to 6 months. We're in a year at this point. It's a year. I mean, so why is it still 2.5? So even with the increase for some, it's still low, but it's better than nothing. But again, you have to keep fighting. And that's why they making these changes, is because small business owners have power. Okay, they can't get back to where they were. They can't have a robust economy without small business. They know how much they need small business. So you need to know that and use your power, use your voice to get some of these changes, made. So they made some, they need to improve them again. So this doesn't mean that this is the end, that they won't change it. But again, once they upload the interim final rule to the Federal Register, and I'll drop that in the comments as well, go to the website and put your comments in as to what you want to see, what changes you would like them to make. Okay. Do you have to have a loss of 25 or greater to qualify for PPP? Yes. If you are applying for second draw, if you're applying for first draw, that is not applicable. Okay. If you're applying for your first time, that means you were not previously funded, right? Or you were denied and you didn't get funded, or you didn't apply and you didn't get funded. That 25% comparison it's not relevant. It's only when you apply for your second draw. That's after you've been funded your first time. And then again, I clarified earlier that now it's 8 weeks. It has to be at least 8 weeks between the time you were approved for your first draw before you can apply for second. So again, that makes it hard for a lot of us to get the second draw at before the deadline, before the March deadline. Okay, let me scroll up. There's a lot of comments and questions on here. Will they help you if you're just starting your business? Okay, so for those that are startups, it depends on when you started your business. This is applicable to like all the grants that are out there, or stimulus programs. They may have a particular date or they may not. This program has a specific date that you must have been in operation. That is February 15th. So new businesses can apply. You just have had to been in business as of February 15th. So that would mean that you don't have 2019 taxes. Then they have calculations. You would base it based on the months that you in 2020 that you have been operating your business. Okay. So I hope that clarifies that for you. Trina says, but if you have gotten your first loan forgiven and then they have already gotten the second PPP loan, can you go back? No. Yeah, that's what I said. One of the issues are. So if you are one of those that if you apply before this new method of calculation was entered and maybe you got $1, that's crazy. But people got $1, right? Or $100 versus the fact you may have gotten 4,000 under the new calculation. You want to, again, I would call your congressional reps and I would comment on the interim rule once it's made available on the website. So that there's something can be done, because then that's leaving out, again, a lot of businesses that apply before the new calculation. So what do they do? Right now, if you apply for first draw and it doesn't apply to you and there's time for you to apply for second draw, do that. Let's get your, whatever stage you're at, get your applications in. I would give it a few days to see what your lenders are saying or doing. If you have a business relationship, I would get on the phone with them today and ask them, have you heard about the new interim rule that the SBA released yesterday? Can we go ahead and apply under the new methodology? If they say yes, then go ahead and apply. If they say give us a few days, then at least you have that information. It just depends on what lenders that you're using, right? So we are helping people. You'll see the information on the screen here. I work with David Allen Capital to help entrepreneurs and small business owners get access to the PPP loans. You want to use the agent ID and use my name, Shante Roddy, when doing business. Like some of you all applied and you didn't reference me or my agent ID, so I don't know that you applied. So it's hard for me to know what's going on if I don't know. Okay, so though I don't qualify for PUA, it doesn't hurt to be informed. Okay, so you again, you should now be eligible for PPP. Okay. So if you have done the calculation, let me know what you calculated. Drop it in the comments. And if you calculated now based on line number 7 and you now qualify and you have a more significant loan amount, an increase, let me know in the comments. Yes, I believe it's Chidera. Yes, use the link that is above. Okay. Let me go. There's a lot of comments. If my business was self-employed on February 15th and I don't have a bank account, what? Okay. You need tax returns. There's no way around it. You need tax returns or the tax form. You need to have it filled out. Go to the IRS website. You're going to need to show invoices because, again, with these programs, you need to be able to show that you needed the funds. I just read the SBA and their final rule. Okay. And a lot of times, again, with the loss, showing a loss, you need to be able to show that you suffered a loss. It's hard to show that if you didn't actually do anything in your business. And although we know that their business that started up and you were just getting the building together, you didn't necessarily have any sales. You were just in the startup process. They're trying to address that with other funding that is coming out. So I don't know that is going to be helpful for you with the PPP program, because every single business owner that is on here right now, I'm going to tell you, you need a business bank account. Please get one. It's so super easy. You can get one for free or little money, like maybe a $25 deposit, $50 deposit, depending on the company. Go get our cheat sheet. We list out references, all of our tips and tricks, including banks. And I bank with Huntington. Okay. So they're not paying me to say that. I love Huntington because they are a community bank. They are real supporters and advocates of small businesses. And so that's what I look for when I'm looking in a bank. They really are good on building relationships with business owners. They also have programs that support the underserved, like minorities and women-owned businesses. So that's why I bank with them. But there's a number of other banks like Chase and PNC Bank. There's a number of banks. You can even your credit union. You can have a bank account with your credit union. I do. So like here, we only have one Black-owned credit union here, and so last year I established some accounts with them. Okay, urgent question: what if 2019 I started in April? Do I still have to multiply by 12? Okay, that I don't know that makes sense to me. It does. If you're 2019, you would have filed your taxes, so it doesn't matter for first draw, at least. For first draw, whatever you have on your tax returns is your income. Divide that your gross income on line 7. That's all you're doing. Go to line 7 on your Schedule C form and divide that by 12 times that number by 2.5. That's how you would determine. Okay. I just said, whether it's David Allen Capital or PayPal, Square, Divvy, Lendio, whatever bank, give it a couple days to get updated because they just released this last night. Okay. So even David Allen Capital. But if you are watching right now, you have employees, right? Again, you can apply now. The ones that I'm saying just to hold off like a couple of days are self-employed individuals to make sure that the lenders have the update, because you always have to allow them time to read through, to make sure that their requirements, that their reps are well informed, that their application portals are updated if need be. That takes time for them to be able to do that. So even me using David Capital and PayPal, because I recommend applying to more than one lender. You can apply to multiple lenders, apply to 2 or 3, see which one hits, and then which one you get approved with, and move forward, sign the loan papers, get your deposit, use your funds, and then hopefully you have time to do a round 2 if you're applying for the first draw. Okay. Yeah, I answered that question. So still divide by the 7 by 12. It doesn't matter how many months you were in business for your 2019 taxes. Okay. All right. So I think those are all the questions. As always, feel free to drop your questions here. Someone is saying their number is still not that spectacular. Yeah, I know so for some, the number is still going to be low, but it's better than the net profit, which was for people, a lot of people, 0 or negative. So at least it's bumping you up from that. But we want to push for even more. I want to push for them to extend it well beyond 2.5 months. At minimum 6. So if it calculated at 6 months, how helpful that would be, based on the income. And so we can push for that and get that for, they could have done that. And I thought they would have done that, because they can even create a threshold for that and say self-employed earning less than whatever, 500K, right? Or 100K online. Or they could just say, we're going to just take and have everybody at that 100,000. That is the max. That is the cap. That is what everybody base their income on, and then times it by 2.5, or use your gross amount and times it by 6 months. They need to find a way to get even more money. So we appreciate the increase, but I think there's still more that we need to do to get more money to underserved populations, which are minorities and women. Okay. We already know that minority and women have a significantly lower income, gross income, business income than our counterparts. I mean, that's just a fact. Okay. All right. So I think those are all the questions for now. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope this has been helpful for you. Again, this is the exclusive period for those businesses with 20 employees or less. So if you do have W-2 employees, go ahead, I would say, and apply right now as quickly as you can. If you're self-employed with no employees, just give it a couple of days. Call your lender, reach out to them, see if, when they will be, when you can submit your application so that they will recognize the new calculations and then go ahead and apply. So as we get updates, again, there's a lot of discussion about the new release changes. And again, as they release those, I will come back on and keep you all advised. Okay. So again, let's get this money. Continue to be the boss with Amplify Impact. Continue to stay safe and be in good health. Have a great day.